Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the next collection video for you all, and it's going to be Marvel Collected Editions, so Omnibus, oversized hardcovers, and trade paperbacks. I'm going to show you everything that I have that you usually see over here on this side of the screen. I love making these collection videos. I love talking about my collections here on the channel. I just did my Blu-ray collection a couple months ago. You can check that video out. I usually do these collection update videos, and you guys have kind of spoken. Nobody's really watched them recently. They used to do pretty well. Nobody's watched them now. So instead of doing my updates monthly, I'll do those updates every once in a while when I have a lot of good stuff. But I'm going to give you guys one of my collections every month now instead of just the updates. So I'll let you pick in the community section. Keep an eye out on that. I have a lot of fun polls out there, as well as giving you guys the opportunity to pick a lot of the stuff that I do for the channel. And you guys chose the Marvel collection, probably because you see it back here all the time. So you're going to see all of it in this video, and let's just get into it right now. Omnibus is my preferred method for collecting Marvel collected editions, and I do have a lot of stuff in Omnibus now that I used to have in paperback, and I repurchased in Omnibus format. One of those is Annihilation. I read this in paperback back in the day, and I picked it up in Omnibus when it finally got reprinted. But I never read Annihilation Conquest, but when the reprint came out, I had to pick it up. Probably my favorite run on Avengers is Avengers by Busiek and Perez. I have both Volume 1 and Volume 2. I also have the first volume of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. I wish I got Volume 2. I'm not sure if it's still in print, but I need to pick it up one day. I don't have too many Omnis from Captain America, but I do have the Jack Kirby Captain America Omnibus. And for a while, the Captain America by Ed Brubaker Omnis were out of print, so I only have picked up the first one and then the Death of Captain America, but I read all these originally in paperback. Next up are my Daredevil books, and I have the first volume of the Stan Lee Daredevil. There are so many phenomenal Daredevil runs that it's really hard to pick a favorite, but this one has to be towards the top, Frank Miller and Klaus Jansson's. And then I have the Daredevil Companion, which arguably has the best Daredevil story of all time, Born Again. Next up is Volume 1 of Brian Michael Bendis' run, and Alex Maleev art in this is absolutely some of the best I've ever seen. I also have Volume 2 of this run, and the covers for these are so good. Some of my favorites ever, too. I also have the Daredevil by Ed Brubaker run with Volume 1, and then also Volume 2. Daredevil by Mark Waid, Volume 1. Haven't started this one. Was hoping to get Volume 2 because I missed it when it came out. So eventually I'll get to it as soon as I get Volume 2. And I also haven't read Charles Soule's run, but I did pick up the Omnibus before it went out of print. Next up is the Doctor Strange Omnibus Volume 1. This is the Stan Lee and Steve Ditko stuff. Used to be pretty hard to get. I don't think it is anymore. I also have this Deadpool minibus. I also have the Deadpool Classic Omnibus, which I picked up off a whim. I have the first 4 omnibus from the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby Fantastic Four, some of my favorite Silver Age comics ever. So that was Volume 1, this is Volume 2, and then I still have yet to open Volume 3 and Volume 4. I planned a big Fantastic Four binge of Silver Age to Bronze Age, but I haven't yet started the John Byrne run because I haven't gotten Volume 2 yet. One of my favorite Fantastic Four runs, and I think one of the most underrated as well, is Wade and Wieringo's run. This one really goes into like the family dynamic. Definitely got the most of like that Incredibles feel here that was taken from Fantastic Four and put into that movie. I really enjoyed this stuff. It's not necessarily the hardest hitting, but it is a lot of fun. For a while, these were like the holy grail of Marvel Omnibus, and I think they've reprinted them since. But this is the Jonathan Hickman run on Fantastic Four, Volume 1, and then I have Volume 2. I love these. These are my favorite Fantastic Four stuff. I absolutely love these. Some of my favorite Marvel comics ever, and I cannot wait for the Fantastic Four movie. And I hope they take a lot of inspiration from this while combining the best stuff with the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby era. The next up is Matt Fraction's Fantastic Four, plus the Future Foundation era of Fantastic Four. This stuff was fine. I didn't really ever get into this that much. It was good, but had a hard time living up to Hickman's. Probably the seminal Hulk story, if not maybe Planet Hulk, but World War Hulk is arguably top 2 all time. Next up is the Moon Knight Omnibus. I tried to read through this when the show was coming out. Not my favorite stuff, but does have some good stories, some cool concepts. And then a string of ones I bought in 2020 and 2021 that I never ended up getting to or reading, but I can't wait to check them out. New Mutants Volume 1. Punisher by Enos and Dylan. I actually read a lot of this stuff back in singles. I used to find these at the flea market all the time. She-Hulk by Dan Slott. I think this was an in-stock trades, like 60 or 70% off purchase. And then I have Stan Lee's Silver Surfer Omnibus Volume 1. So next up is Spider-Man, and I have the first 5 volumes of the Stan Lee Spider-Man that collect everything that he wrote. That was Volume 1. I have Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and Volume 5. I also have the Roger Stern Omnibus for Spider-Man. Read most of this in paperback because this was so hard to find for a long time before they reprinted it. Then after that, I have the David Michelini and Todd McFarlane Omnibus, as well as the Todd McFarlane, I guess, Maxi series, but it was a mainline for a while. Spider-Man, no adjective Omnibus. And I haven't read this one, but this is Kurt Busiek's Untold Tales of Spider-Man. I have J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man Volume 2. Missed out on Volume 1, read it back in the day in trades, and so didn't pick it up in time, and they sold out of them. And then I haven't read this, but I've heard really good things about Tangled Web. And then last but not least, one of my favorite runs on Spider-Man, had to pick up the Omnibus at some point, is Ultimate Spider-Man. I love this stuff. It throws me back to seeing those Tobey Maguire movies, since a lot of those were based on what Brian Michael Bendis did with Ultimate Spider-Man. It easily is my favorite Ultimate comic. Next up is Volume 1 of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Mighty Thor, and then one of the best runs on Thor ever. This is the Mighty Thor by Walter Simonson. This is actually the first print, so this one is massive. Before we move on, though, make sure you hit that like button. It helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. It's free, it's easy to do, and it helps me out so much, so just scroll down, hit subscribe, you won't regret it. Getting into some of the X-Men stuff, starting with Volume 1 of Wolverine, which I also read mostly in paperback originally. Then we have Volume 1 of Chris Claremont and John Byrne's Uncanny X-Men. Love this series, as everybody else does. So as I've said a lot throughout this video, 2020, 2021, those were the years of me buying a lot of stuff I had already read in paperback and rebuying them in omnibus format. So I did buy Volume 2 of Uncanny X-Men, which read almost all of this back in the day in paperback, and also Volume 3 and Volume 4. Then I haven't gotten to Mutant Massacre yet, but I've heard great things about it. I also have the Fall of the Mutants Omnibus. I did pick up X-Men Inferno. This is the Inferno Prologue Omnibus. And then I have the Basic Inferno Omnibus. Read most of these in paperback and singles because they were so easy to find at flea markets, but I have X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Also read Age of Apocalypse in singles, but I got the omnibus for it, as well as the Omnibus Companion. As a big DC guy, Grant Morrison's one of my favorite writers of all time, and his new X-Men is awesome. Also read this in paperback, but Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon and John Cassidy, and then excitedly bought this to read, but still haven't read it, X-Men Grand Design. So that wraps up my superhero Marvel Omnibus. I do have some Star Wars ones I'll get to a little later, but right now we're going to get into Marvel superhero oversized hardcovers. We'll start it off with Marvel 1602, a really interesting, cool idea to put Marvel characters back in 1602. I got Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky Volume 1. Picked this up back when Eternals came out because I'm one of the few people who actually like that movie. Neil Gaiman's Eternals. And then I don't have the Planet Hulk Omnibus, but I have it in oversized hardcover. I also have the Immortal Hulk series in oversized hardcover starting with Volume 1 and then continuing in Volume 2, Volume 3, and then I missed Volume 4, but I got Volume 5. I have the Incredible Hulk's World War Hulks oversized hardcover. And then part of the reason I didn't rush to pick up Avengers by Hickman Volume 2 was because I have Infinity in oversized hardcover. I really like the Inhumans, and this is the best Inhumans story ever in my opinion, Paul Jenkins' Inhumans oversized hardcover. I have Ms. Marvel Volume 1 in oversized hardcover. Then I also have Original Sin in oversized hardcover, as well as the Original Sin Companion, Spider-Man Spider Island in oversized hardcover, a really fun series, The Amazing Spider-Man and Human Torch oversized hardcover, and then the incredible newer Spider-Man Life Story. I never got the Thor by Jason Aaron Omnibus because I have the entire series in oversized hardcover. That was Volume 1, this is Volume 2, Volume 3, but technically Volume 1 of the Just Thor series. This is Volume 2 of The Mighty Thor. This is Volume 2 of Thor, but technically Volume 4 of his series. And then Volume 3 of Thor, but Volume 5 of the Jason Aaron series. And then we change characters and titles again and go back to Volume 4 of this series, technically Volume 6. And same thing with Volume 7/5. Some of my X-Men oversized hardcovers, starting with Nation X, X-Men First Class, and I have so much to catch up on for Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, but I do have the oversized hardcover for House of X, Powers of 10, and the oversized hardcover for X of Swords. So not really an oversized hardcover in the typical definition. I don't know what you would call this, but this is Silver Surfer Parable. It's genuinely massive. It's by Stan Lee and Mobius. It's a great story, one of the seminal Silver Surfer stories. And then that takes us to my trade paperbacks. So we'll start the trades with Marvel's Secret Wars, then continuing with Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War. I have the Civil War trade paperbacks, including the Civil War main event, Civil War Iron Man and Captain America, Civil War Fantastic Four, Civil War Young Avengers and Runaways, and then Civil War Heroes for Hire. Some Avengers trade paperbacks, I have Avengers Kree-Skrull War and Avengers the Korvax Saga. I forgot what this series technically is called with this style of standard sized hardcovers, but I have a few of these. Avengers Under Siege, one of my favorite Avengers stories. And then I have the Mighty Thor Disassembled from the Avengers Disassembled stories. This is the Ragnarok story. Volume 1 of Black Panther by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Captain America War and Remembrance. I did a full read through of everything Jim Starlin before Infinity War, the movie, came out back in 2017 and 18. And probably my favorite thing and most underrated thing I feel like when I hear people talk about Jim Starlin is his Captain Marvel series. This is great stuff, and it made Marvel one of my favorite Marvel characters. I have Daredevil Loves Labor's Lost, as well as Joe Quesada's Daredevil Father. Being a big Batman fan, I love Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and their color series for Marvel is really great. This is Daredevil Yellow. Dark Avengers Assemble, one of my favorite Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom stories. This is Triumph and Torment. And then probably the best Doctor Strange story ever, The Oath. Another Eternals trade paperback. This is Eternals Manifest Destiny. And then I have the Marvel Knights trade paperback, Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4. I have Guardians of the Galaxy Earth Shall Overcome. This is one of those standard size hardcovers. Hulk and the Thing Hard Knocks. I have Fraction and Brubaker's Immortal Iron Fist Volume 1. Iron Man Demon in a Bottle. Iron Man the Ironmonger. And then Invincible Iron Man Extremis. Unfortunately, I only have a paperback for Marvels, but this is maybe my favorite Marvel story ever. I love Alex Ross. Kingdom Comes, one of my favorite DC stories, so I had to read this, but I want an oversized edition of this. Alex Ross's art always deserves oversized format. Next up is Book 1 of Miracle Man, A Dream of Flying. This is written by Alan Moore. Jeff Lemire's excellent Moon Knight collection. A standard size hardcover of NYX Wannabe. Silver Surfer Rebirth of Thanos. I don't have too many epic collections anymore. I used to have a lot more before I changed to Omnibus, but I have Silver Surfer Inner Demons. Back to standard size trade paperbacks, I have The Death of Jean DeWolf, which is a really underrated Spider-Man story. I really like this one. Spider-Man the Alien Costume Saga Book 1. I'm missing Book 2. I have the epic collection of Ghosts of the Past. Standard trade paperback for Kraven's Last Hunt, as well as the paperback of Maximum Carnage. Here's my paperback for J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man Volume 1. Also a Spider-Man story I don't hear too many people talk about anymore. This is Mark Millar's Spider-Man from Marvel Knights. My favorite from the Colors series, Spider-Man Blue. Thor Thunderstrike. Thor World Engine. I have the trade paperback of Thor's Battle World. This goes in with the Jason Aaron stuff. Some of my Ultimate books, I have the Ultimates Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 1 and Ultimate X-Men Volume 1. Tom King's excellent Vision series. And then once again, Jim Starlin with Warlock. Some Wolverine books, including Wolverine Origin, the Wolverine Epic Volume 2 Back to Basics, Wolverine Enemy of the State, and Wolverine Get Mystique. Wolverine Old Man Logan, and Old Man Logan Volume 1 by Jeff Lemire. A random flea market pickup, X-Men Forever Volume 5. And then last but certainly not least, the standard size hardcover for X-Men, The Magneto Testament. So we're going to wrap up this video with my Star Wars Marvel Omnibus trade paperbacks and epic collections, starting with Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith, the Omnibus by Charles Soule, the Dr. Aphra Omnibus Volume 1, the Dr. Aphra Omnibus Volume 2, and then to round out my Star Wars canon oversized hardcovers and omnibus, I have the Kanan oversized hardcover, as well as all of the Age of oversized hardcovers with Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, and then Age of Resistance. Next up are my Star Wars Legends Omnibus, and the first one I have up here is the Old Republic Omnibus. I also have the Rise of the Sith Omnibus, the Empire Omnibus Volume 1, the Empire Omnibus Volume 2, the Star Wars Droids and Ewoks Omnibus, and then I'm missing Volume 1 of the original Marvel years, but I have Volume 2 and Volume 3. I have the Rebellion Omnibus Volume 1 and the New Republic Omnibus Volume 1. Next up, we're going to look at my epic collections for Star Wars Legends, and I have Tales of the Jedi Volume 1, Tales of the Jedi Volume 2, and Tales of the Jedi Volume 3. Because I have the Old Republic Omnibus Volume 1, which collects all of the KOTOR series, I only have the epic collection for Volume 4 and Volume 5. I also have the Clone Wars Volume 1, Volume 3, and Volume 4, missing that Volume 2. I also have the New Republic Volume 5 and the New Republic Volume 6. And then the last epic I have, I really wish we'd get an omnibus of this. I've said it in my Star Wars collection video as well. But the Legacy Volume 1, this is great stuff. We need the omnibus of all 4 volumes. And then finally, we're getting into my trade paperbacks for Marvel Star Wars. First, I have the High Republic Phase 2 Volume 1 Balance of the Force. Next up, I have the Darth Maul miniseries and Darth Maul Son of Dathomir, as well as the Thrawn, you want to say comictization? It's an adaptation of the Thrawn novel. Han Solo Imperial Cadet, Lando Double or Nothing, Star Wars Target Vader, Han Solo and Chewbacca Volume 1, Han Solo and Chewbacca Volume 2, Star Wars Volume 8 Mutiny at Mon Cala, Volume 9 Hope Dies, Volume 10 The Escape, Volume 11 The Scourging of Shu Torun, Volume 12 Rebels and Rogues, and Volume 13 Rogues and Rebels. Then I have Charles Soule's Star Wars Volume 1 The Destiny Path, Volume 2 Operation Starlight. I held out on Volume 3 because of the War of the Bounty Hunters omnibus, and I held out on Volume 4 because I was hoping for a Crimson Reign omnibus, but I did pick up Volume 5, and then also Volume 6. I have Greg Pak's Vader series starting with Volume 1, Dark Heart of the Sith, Volume 2, Into the Fire, and then same justification for Star Wars with Volumes 3 and 4. I skipped those and got Volume 5, The Shadow's Shadow, and Volume 6, Return of the Handmaidens. Next up is Bounty Hunters, which I'm also waiting for an omnibus announcement for, but I don't think we'll get one because it's not that widely read. But I have Bounty Hunters Volume 1, Bounty Hunters Volume 2, Bounty Hunters Volume 4, and Bounty Hunters Volume 5. I got the Hidden Empire trade paperback, as well as the long out of print and difficult to find TIE Fighter, The Rise of Kylo Ren. I read Poe Dameron in singles, so now I have to piece together my Poe Dameron collection, and I started with Volume 1, but then I jumped to Volume 4, and the final one, Volume 5. Next up is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and finally, Star Wars Allegiance. And that's everything. That's my entire Marvel Omnibus, trade paperback, epic collection, and oversized hardcover collection. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that like button down below. Helps me out with the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel for more collections just like this. I'll put out another poll soon, and you can pick which collection you'd like to see for next month. Let me know what you thought of my collection in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.